Hello comrades, my name is Fritz, and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. On today's show, we are going to be landing on the moon, which you can see here on the left. In this episode, we shall of course be conducting also scientific experiments on the lunar surface with the help of Neddery Kerman here in the bottom right. But first, of course, we will have to actually touch down. And if you'll remember, in the previous episode, we sent this spacecraft out into the freezing wasteland of the Kerbal system, Vlad the Tormentor, and after a short one-day hop out here, it's now time to actually begin the real exciting bits of the mission. So we should probably now start to plot our descent trajectory onto the surface. I'll just focus the window here and switch to the tracking station view. You'll see in a moment, once I switch, that this is possibly the most inefficient landing trajectory I've ever tried. You see, we are coming over from quite a high altitude and attitude, and I'm going to gain a lot of speed as the moon's gravity pulls us all the way, and you can see the length of the kind of drop that we'll have to take there. And besides that, we're not going to be landing in the most interesting part of the moon, but I guess we can deal with that accordingly. Yeah, let's see. What can we do? Well, I usually aim for that big crater you can see there, but obviously that's not possible, so we're going to have to just wing it, I guess. First thing we can do is check our fuel. We have a fair amount, and contracts, we did address those last time, I guess. And yeah. Right, we can turn slowly retrograde, lock it in with the SAS, as we usually do, as we are accustomed to doing. Like that. Possibly switch back, there we go, and time warp into position. Let's see indeed. Possibly a bit more, yeah, roughly that. I still like to land at the light side, obviously. Yeah, that seems about right. Obviously much better than that initial trajectory. So obviously the more shallower entry path I take, the better. And oh, we've flung ourselves back to prograde again. That's the inconsistency with the rotation of the moon and the rotation of the nav ball. But SAS on, we're going to start our burn and hope that everything goes well. We are now officially out of lunar orbit. Our perhaps is descending gently. That will soon be non-existent. But all is going well so far. There's that crater that we want to aim for. I think that's a good place. And let's start our descent into the depths. Brilliant! I'm just going to time warp down to about 20 kilometers, which is a roughly good place to start our burn, as good a place as any. 23... yeah, guess for safety's sake, but you know, I think we have a little fuel glitch here, so you know, I don't think we packed enough fuel, so we're going to have to just use as little fuel as possible by burning a bit later. 19.2, that's about right, I think. We are zipping along at a steady 490 meters per second, not the greatest speed at which you want to litho brake at. Perhaps Nedry Kerman is justified in being a little apprehensive about the descent. The throttle is up to about 2/3 of the way, should we say, and we are chewing through that fuel, though at quite a slow rate, which I guess is a blessing in disguise. Well, it's just a blessing, really. We can probably tilt over a little more. I'm going to up the throttle because I think we might have burned a bit too late. I can see those ridges, mountains and folds in the landscape approaching at alarming speeds. How much fuel do we have? 26, so as long as we land before we break into this 90 unit tank here, I guess we'll be able to make it home with some fuel to spare, which is always what we want, because we do get some return on our investment in the rocket. 13 kilometers. Of course, the surface of the moon is much higher than that. That's the sea level altimeter, so obviously sea level is obviously at 0. But the surface of the moon is approximately 7 or 8 kilometers above that. Our apoapsis is descending nicely. We've got a nice kind of parabolic descent trajectory there, which is looking lovely. Just under 150 units of fuel left in the fuel tanks, obviously. Where else? And we've dropped below the 100 meter per second mark. Just seeing if we are below that 3 kilometer range on the radar altitude-o-meter. We can probably stop burning soon for a while and just let the craft drift down like that. I'm going to cut the throttle there, in fact, because I don't want to waste too much fuel. Accelerating again, as you do, and watch the altimeter in the bottom right. We don't want to warp too far, otherwise we'll crash. And whoa, there it goes, and oh god. Sorry, I switched back to the map view. And oh, there it goes again. I need to press C, not M. And wow, the ground is approaching pretty quickly. This is hair-raising stuff, throttling all the way up. Yeah, this isn't too good. I can see my shadow approaching pretty fast. I think we're going to hit the ground at about 30 or 40 meters per second, but if we can save as much of the craft as possible, 60 meters per second, this isn't good. This is really not good. 3 kilometers and 30 meters per second. Still going a bit on the fast side, but whoa, that was exhilarating. There's our shadow there. Looking good, and whoa, we've burned a bit too much in the panic. And wasted quite a bit of fuel in the intervening time. Excuse me. 7 meters per second, a bit too fast for my tastes, but we can kill off that velocity on the way down. Shadows right there, looking good, we are straight up and down. Vlad the Tormentor is coming in for a perfect landing, a picture perfect landing. And contact light, engine stop. We have landed on the surface of the moon, SAS on. That is quite a vicious slope. We don't want to go toppling down that in a hurry. Well, yes, we've landed on the surface of the moon. I'm going to quick save here, just to make sure we don't lose any of our progress if something goes wrong, like the game crashing, for example. I don't know why I feel the need to explain such things in such intimate detail. Maybe I'm afraid that my viewers are too stupid, but I better not say that. Oh, I said that out loud. Anyway, temperature scan. Let's get back to work. Change the subject very quickly. Collected and recording temperature in the 32, science, transmit 16. Okay, so we get twice as much data on average from transmitting it recovering it, sorry. Mystery goo observation, quick fire scientific experiments going on here. Goo seems to be less dense, 40 science, keep the data. And we can probably go ahead and do a crew report. 20 science. And of course we can go on an EVA report like this. Get a good perspective. RCS back on, shift and slowly touch down. One small step for Kerbal, one giant leap for Kerbal kind. Woohoo! Nedry Kerman taking his first steps on the surface of the moon. Is a benchmark in the achievement of Kerbal kind. EVA report, 32 science. Okay, so it doesn't matter if we transmit that or cover that. Take a surface sample, 120 science. Wow, that's a lot. Basaltic rocks. Never known any moon of a certain planet to be volcanic, but there we go. And plant a flag on the surface and take in the view. Now what should we do? Let's see. Vlad the Torment. No, we can just go ahead and do, let's see. First moon landing. Vlad the Tormentor touched down. Oh, down here. Oh, I meant to go to the next line, but I forgot that cancels the flag operation. Anyway, okay, I was going to write piloted by Nedry Kerman as is customary, but there's our new flag, our first flag in this career mode. So I need to get a new shot for the thumbnail photograph. If I just turn him around like that, bring him up a bit, there we go, and screenshot that. Ooh, that's a nice flag, actually, I have to say. I'm pretty pleased with how that PNG file turned out, so yeah, that's good. Nedry Kerman's celebratorily standing on the surface. Flags now have physics, just trying to make it highlight. Yeah, but no, flags have physics now in this new update, so you can actually chuck flags and do stuff to them. But yeah, Nedry Kerman poses triumphantly. But our work here on the surface of the moon is done. We can return gracefully to the safety of our command capsule and return home in relative comfort. Well done. Oh, one thing I forgot to do, materials bay. Yes, that's important. We would have missed out on 100 science there. Find dust in the moon intermix some of the samples. If a sneaking suspicion that they'll never be able to get the lab clean again. How unfortunate. Keep data, but that's all in the name of science, of course. Okay, 119 units of fuel as it stands in the tanks currently. We still haven't broken into that central tank, which is good, I guess. But lifting off from the surface, folding in the landing legs, retracting the struts that supported us on the surface, and tilting over to straight up and down. Move that velocity vector straight up. And we are away. There's the jagged ridge of numerous craters in the background. And I need to work out which direction I need to tilt. It's obviously 90 degrees, so I'm just going to rotate the capsule. Hang on. Nope. Rotate the capsule like this so that north is facing downwards, as is the norm when we launch our rockets. And then obviously I can just tilt over to the right as it stands on the nav port, which I think will be towards us if I start tilting over. Now, the minimum requirement for delta V to get into orbit around the moon is roughly 500 to 600 meters per second. And we're already doing 100 meters per second, and our house is 10 kilometers, which is 2 kilometers above the highest mountains of the region. So we can go ahead and tilt straight over to the horizon line. And just kick the rear end up and burn for the heavens. We haven't quite reached our apoapsis yet, but obviously we've still got some velocity to gain. Our landing site is slipping slowly away from us. Our orbit arc, our lovely parabola, is growing. We don't want to run out of fuel and come crashing down, because that would be quite an embarrassment. And I think I forgot to quick save after I've done all that science, which was stupid. But, you know, whatever. Nothing much more to say. 80 units of fuel left. We have now broken into that central tank, and we've also broken into the 200 meter per second speed mark. Nedry is perhaps a little more apprehensive now that there's the possibility that he may die. I guess it's only natural. We are going to cut the engine soon and let the craft glide up to its apoapsis before we begin to do another burn, because we want to save as much fuel as possible instead of just pushing our apoapsis higher and higher. Now that I'm confident that we aren't going to collide with any mountains, which is always a comforting thought indeed. I'm guessing that about now we can cut the throttle and then glide. But I'm just going to burn a little bit more for safety's sake, just to get a little bit of oomph, which may come in useful sometime in the future. Our trajectory is growing nicely, and 360 meters per second. Not too bad. We might just do this after all. And circularizing. There we go. That, ladies and gentlemen, not too sure why a lady would watch Kerbal Space Program videos, but there we go. That is how we do that. With 50 ample, probably not ample units of liquid fuel left. Of course, we have more oxidizer, but a rocket engine is useless without even its basic components, including liquid fuel, so yeah, it's either one or the other, or none at all, really. Sorry, I mean both or none at all. That's what I meant. Okay, we're plotting a maneuver node here, and that one obviously slingshot us all the way back to Kerbal. We're in quite a big orbit after we make moon escape, 4 million kilometers of our periapsis. So we can probably move that down. No, we need to get as close as possible before we start adjusting other proponents of the orbit. 2 million, that's half it. No, that's not going to work, is it? Just reset that. Oh, no, too much. Perfect. Probably prograde just to fire ourselves away from Kerbal and then fall. Fall in a rather odd motion, as I'll demonstrate in a minute. Oh, periapsis. I want to... Let's see, we don't... Yes, we're going to fall out there. We're going to fly us out there, and then gravity will pull us in, slingshot us right into the surface of Kerbal. Now, I want to use the minimum amount of fuel as possible, so I'm just going to burn or retrograde a little bit, just to use less fuel. 16.8 kilometers, that's as high as I dare go, really. Although we are through quite a sizable chunk of the atmosphere, even if we do that. And that's 297.5 meters per second of delta V, and, well, there's nothing really more to see, or to watch, or to say, in fact. Synonyms. So, I am going to perform the burn, and hopefully we won't run out of fuel. But, yeah, we've done all our science, and I guess I will rejoin you when I finish my burn and we're on our Munar escape trajectory homeward bound to safety and to the stars. I'll see you when we're ready. Okay, we've completed our burn and we are going to quite literally fall back to the surface of Kerbal, and we completed the burn with 28.59 units of fuel to spare, which is, well, it's a rather tiny amount in comparison with all of the fuel that we carried up to the moon, and that's all that we're going to return with. But Nedry is pretty much home and dry, and it's been an eventful mission. We've accomplished quite a lot, and oh, this is quite a nice thumbnail shot. The sun and the surface of the moon down there. If we zoom out and try to take a screenshot, that would always help. let's see, rid ourselves of the user interface. We can probably zoom in a bit actually. You can't really see the spaceship in that. Right. And F1, there we go. It's time to go home. Right, we're about to deploy the parachutes. Off they go. Successful deployment of the 3 main parachutes there, the 2 little chutes on the materials bay and the single chute on top of the command pod, the Mark 16 parachute, the yellow and white one. We still have some of that fuel left. I didn't use any adjusting my trajectory on the way down. I'm going to deploy the landing legs just to give us some extra stability in the water, and just to make sure we don't tip over and break anything. 92 meters per second. Everything seems fine. And there go the chutes. Niduri is pretty much there, 400 meters above the surface of Kerbal. I think I can time warp. I never really wait until we get down to the ground. 200 meters, 100 meters, 50, throttling up a little bit just to cushion the impact, 4.7, and splashdown. Yuli Kerman is back. Wow, we didn't tip over this time. We stayed afloat due to the buoyancy of the 3 fuel tanks and the landing legs. And nothing broke, so we can go ahead and recover the vessel. And it's 404 science. Wow, so we had crew report from the Moon's Midlands. And we only had 40 science to start out with, which is like disappointing. And surface samples, EVA reports, and look at all that. Parts, all of these parts that we returned from the lander just now. Landing struts, everything is all there. And Nedry Kerman, and 1.6 reputation. I thought we'd get a lot more, which is interesting. 1.6, I wonder where I went wrong with that. Very odd. I addressed most of these contracts. Like, I did all the explore the moon business and everything. But I don't know. Well, that's disappointing. Anyway, off to the mission control room. And I think we can accept a new mission unit like Minmus. Yes, that's obviously our next target. And on that note, do join me next time when we'll be shooting for Minmus. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. My name is Fritz, and I will of course see you next time on Kerbal Space Program.